Hello, it is day 0 of Anime Impulse LA. It's 2:46 and I believe we got here around 11:30 or so, and we just finished setting up for the most part. I do have to just organize the back, but it took us a while. The setup for Impulse is on a 6-foot table, so it did take a lot of creativity to see how I would be able to fit everything within a 6-foot table, because for the past 3 or 4 events, actually, I don't think I had a 6-foot table display set up since Anime Expo, and that was back in July, so I've been very spoiled until then. But it wasn't too bad. I actually didn't have to remove anything from my typical display. If anything, I think there's just lower visibility for stickers, but I'm not too worried about that. I will say, and I'm not as mad as I was earlier today. What kind of event is it if there's no drama, right? I was a little bit frustrated because while I was aware that Artist Alley and voice actors would be in a different building, because from last year there was some laking because of how stormy it was that weekend, and luckily this year it's not going to rain. It's like the weather's actually pretty perfect. We are in a different building, however, we are very far from the main part where everything is happening. So if you've been to Impulse before, there's the vendor hall for Anime Impulse, and then typically Artist Alley's on the other side. However, because we're not in that hallway anymore, they moved us to Hall 8, which is behind vendor hall. And the problem is that as of now, I'm not sure if it's going to be the same tomorrow. There is no clear signage as to where Anime Impulse Artist Alley is, unless you're in vendor hall, which I feel like for the most part, a lot of attendees do go to Artist Alley first versus going to vendor hall first. So basically, unless you go into Anime Impulse vendor hall, you will not know where Artist Alley is, because a lot of people are conditioned to go to that other hallway. However, where Artist Alley used to be, there is a large stage. I'm assuming there's going to be performances of some sort. So I'm just hoping they're going to include some signage, because if I didn't know where that was and I'm an Artist Alley vendor, I don't think attendees will know where to go. So it's not good for me to start a con this annoyed. I think I just need to regulate my emotions as well, but it's very frustrating when things like this happen. But again, you just have to roll with the punches, and that's how Artist Alley works. Good morning, it is 9:30 in the morning and it is day 1 of Anime Impulse LA. I'm excited, but I'm a little bit tired because of last weekend, but at least today is only, or at least this weekend is only 2 days, so it's not too bad. We just got here maybe 10 or 20 minutes ago because we realized that even though vendors are allowed to park early in gate 9 where we're supposed to, they don't open till 9 for some reason, so we had to wait for like a good 30 or 40 minutes just to get in the parking structure. But then the parking attendant said, oh, vendors can park in gate 17. So I don't know. I think we're just gonna try gate 17 tomorrow and see if we can just park there. It's not even about payment at this point. Like, I just want to be able to get in early, or at least earlier than 9 in the morning. Also, for some reason, it smells like gas. I don't know why. I'm assuming it's because of the food stalls outside, but that's not a good enough reason for this gas smell, and it is a little bit concerning. So hopefully that goes away pretty soon. Basically, Impulse is 2 days, Saturday, Sunday. It's from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. both days. I'm not expecting too much out of Impulse LA, only because, as I mentioned in my ALA vlog, there is a lot of intersection with the attendees for Impulse and ALA, where some people do attend ALA and they also attend Impulse. And I remember that from last year, there was a lot of comments on how some people saw me at ALA. So even though Impulse is typically the best performing out of all of the Impulse events, I'm not really expecting too much, but it is nice because this is semi-local for me, so costs are pretty low. We are participating in 2 stamp rallies, so maybe that'll help with sales as well for this weekend, but we'll see. Here is a full 6-foot table display. I somehow managed to fit everything on a 6-foot table. So I didn't really have space to put the little basket for the catalog, so I just put it here for reference since it would be blocking the lanyards and the phone grips, so left it on there. I still have some phone grips sold out. I did put the stamp rally up here since, again, we are participating in 2 stamp rallies. Car magnets, I did put the stickers down here, so again, low visibility, but again, it's not my priority. I put the pins all up here, mirror up here, crew necks are up here so you can see the details still, and then one of them is at least open so you can see how the layout would be for the embroidery. Again, free tote bag is up there so they can reference that. I have 5 of the Ita bags up here. Put the corduroy bags up here so they can touch these two, and then this one is just for display so they can see it from afar. Keychains up here. Put the heart Ita bags up here, the heart wallets there. If they want to see one of the wallets, one of them is down here. And then usually I have my Mualcaina sign up here. However, because 5 grid cubes is kind of my limit, I don't think I can have the support that I would like if I have another level, so I just put my OCs up there. And that's the full display. For Anime Impulse, we were given signs. They didn't really instruct us on whether we should put it up. However, I feel that as an attendee, if you are looking for a specific table number, it is helpful to have them, so I just put it up there for reference. So it's 11:07, so about an hour or so since the event started. And I will say that right now it's actually not that busy, but that's also because, which I noticed, I did have to go out and get something from my car, and the line is so long, and I don't suspect that most of the attendees will be getting in until maybe an hour from now, because I don't think they're gonna go through that line really quickly. So I feel like most people are just slowly trickling in, and I feel that at least compared to the other conventions that I've been to, I feel like Impulse and the Nerdbot conventions like Anime Pasadena, Riverside, and so on are very heavily focused on voice actors. So I feel like a lot of people are going to those tables first before they shop around. And even now, like the first hour or so, a lot of people have been walking around just seeing what there is to see. I think most of the sales will happen later on. So this is the back of the table. So we've managed to fit most of the stuff for a 6-foot table on here, but I think it works because we do have all the space in the back. So we just have everything like stocked up. So at least there's also enough space for people to go through on the aisle. But, you know, not the most organized, but we're working with it. So it's almost 2 o'clock and I actually made a mistake. So I was worried that Impulse did not have the proper signage for people coming in to know where Artist Alley is, and I feel like this year definitely feels a little bit more packed than last year. I don't recall having this much trouble navigating through Artist Alley if I have to leave my table, but it does fluctuate. I would say that earlier when it just opened, it was relatively empty, but now that people are coming in, it's a little bit more packed, and sometimes there is space and sometimes there isn't, so it's not super consistent. I'm also surprised because we did sell out of a couple items. I brought about 4 or 5 bear bags for this entire weekend because they don't usually sell out this quickly. However, it's only been a few hours and we already sold out of the bear bags because based on last year's performance, I did not do super well, at least in comparison to ALA, which is why I brought a lot less. But I am a little surprised, and I did underestimate this convention, so I'm gonna have to go back and bring more bear bags for tomorrow, and hopefully people buy them. We're also running low on the cat and the bunny corduroy bags, so I'm not sure if they will last for today or if we'll have enough for tomorrow, but we will see. There are also a lot of people participating in the stamp rally, at least from other tables, and then they're coming to us. So it is, again, helping circulate the attendees at this convention, but we will see. It's now 4:01, so now that it's much later in the day, I don't know why I forgot about this, but again, I feel like it's a lot more busy this year because it was raining last year, so of course most people aren't going to be here when the weather is that bad. So now that the weather's basically perfect, I feel like a lot of people are outside today. So lately it has been very crowded to the point where I did have my sister go around and our stamp cards just for memory's sake, and she couldn't even get through the entire Artist Alley because of how crowded it is. So it has been very busy. Sales-wise, it's been good as well. I don't think it's as amazing in terms of numbers as last weekend, but I did expect that because, again, intersection of audiences, but it has been very busy the past few hours. Hello, it is the last day of Anime Impulse LA, so day 2. And looking at yesterday's numbers, it was actually pretty good for a Saturday. It's not my best Saturdays, however, it's a lot better than I would typically make on a Saturday. I feel like the wording was very confusing. But I would say it's almost double of my satisfaction number for an event, at least for the first day, or like on a day typically. I don't remember if I brought this up, but I realized that I did order too few stamp cards because just based off of AX Chibi, and it was hard to tell with attendance numbers, but for AX Chibi, it's a 2-day event. I ordered 250 postcards and I think 50 sticker sheets. But then I realized we had a lot of extra stamp cards. So I figured, oh, with this 2-day event and based off of last year's performance, I decided to order 100 stamp cards because I usually order them from Gotprint and there isn't really an in-between. So it's either 100 stamp cards or 250, and ideally I would have ordered 200, but that wasn't an option for that particular manufacturer. So I went with 100 because it wasn't that crazy last year. So I thought, you know what? 100's fine. I don't even know if we're even going to go through all of them. I was definitely wrong in that end. We are really running low for today. I think for at least the Jujutsu Kaisen ones, we're nearly finished with all the stamp cards. So one of the artists participating, luckily she's printing out some more. So I think she printed out 50 more just so we have enough for the next few hours for today. I think we're even running low on sticker sheets, and I actually ordered 25 sticker sheets, but the place that I ordered it from ended up giving me 50 because I think I ordered 50 with another sticker sheet, but they gave me more than I needed. So it actually ended up being enough because we are running through them really quickly. It smells like gas again. Do you smell that? Why does it smell like gas? But now I know. I think next time it is better to have extra. I just didn't want to be wasteful with that many postcards, but I'm just gonna order extra next time. Also, some info about the Anime Impulse event umbrella. If you're not familiar with this type of event, for Anime Impulse LA, there are 4 events occurring at the same time. There's Anime Impulse, which is their anime-themed convention, K-Playfest, which is their K-pop themed con, Sneaker Expo, sneakers, and Asian American Expo, where it's a lot of Asian goods and a lot of Asian foods. So this event is their main one out of all of the other Anime Impulses, and one of the biggest ones as well, and it was the original one before they started branching out to different cities. I feel like as an attendee, this is definitely worth attending. I don't really know how much the price was for tickets. I know they have 1-day and 2-day ticket options. Just because there's so much to do, I feel like if you want to make it a 1-day thing, I feel like it's doable, but you can have enough things to do for it to be worth a 2-day event.
Hello vlog. Day two, last day.
Some info about this event. Table fee is $375 if you are in Artist Alley. It comes with 2 badges, a 2.5 by 6 foot table. I don't think it's exactly 2 feet, but I don't know if it's as big as 2.5, but it's like a 6 by more than 2 foot table. It does come with 2 chairs, a very small sign, if you would consider that. It's a sign, but it's very small. And this is a 2-day event. It's usually Saturday, Sunday, and that applies for all of the Anime Impulse events that I know of. I did register as a returning vendor, which is why I had a slightly easier time getting a table. I wouldn't say it's an easy time getting a table. It's just easier than if you haven't vended at this event previously, because returning vendors from the previous Anime Impulse LA get first dibs, and that one is a whole blank show in and of itself, because it is very difficult, because you have to choose a table, input all of your information, and then when you go to cart, that's when you realize, oh, someone already bought the table. So you just repeat that system over and over again. Super fun, which is why it is relatively difficult if you haven't vended at this event, because there is a very small number of tables that haven't been claimed. Those sell out probably within seconds, if so less than a minute. And since this event is in January, I did get my table in August, so it's kind of nice, because even though it is pretty brutal trying to get a table with a first come first serve table, you already know what your table number is and your table location, so you can start planning that, versus an event that's typically juried or lottery. You don't really know your table placement until it gets closer to the convention.
Hello, Bora.
So now it's 11:48, and what's interesting is that I was talking to a few vendors, and I also noticed this, but I think out of all of the anime conventions that I've attended or even vended at, this is the one that I've noticed a lot of other vendors slash artists are hosting or participating in stamp rallies, at least compared to this one and ALA and AXCHIBI. I have had the most declines to participate in stamp rallies at this event because there's just so many other artists who have stamp rallies. So of course not everyone can or does want to participate in multiple stamp rallies because again that requires a lot of monetary investment, and if you already purchased from several other tables, you're going to stick with that stamp rally rather than jump from one stamp rally to the other. So that is something to consider, at least for this event. You are going to be competing with a lot of other booths who are doing stamp rallies compared to other events. Personally, at least with yesterday's numbers, I feel like this event is worth it. I think if you have mainstream anime stuff, you would probably do well at this event. If you have a pretty solid brand, you do well. If you have a lot of VTuber stuff, you'll do really well because I think Impulse is going in the direction of supporting more VTuber specific panels and events. So if your merch does gear in that direction, this event is for you. I feel like for the most part, a lot of people did well yesterday, but personally for me, as someone who is semi-local and my costs are pretty low, I'm pretty happy with this event. It's now 3:01, and now that there's about 4 hours until this event ends today, I've noticed for the past few hours, it's significantly slower today than it is compared to yesterday. Even in terms of fulfilled or stamped stamp cards, I can probably count on one hand the number of stamp cards that I've stamped today. Even in the group chat with the other stamp rally participants, not a lot of people have been retrieving the sticker sheet prize. So it is pretty notable that most attendees do attend Saturday rather than both days or Sunday.
Audrey, hello. This is her table, and it's very cute. The aesthetic is super cute. She's my table neighbor. I'm right here, and she's over here.
I get this question asked sometimes where would I prefer using a wagon or a suitcase when it comes to basically holding inventory to and from a convention. And personally, I first started with storage bins because that's what I already owned prior, and I'm not going to pay for more stuff until I had to travel out of state to conventions, and I did have to rely on a suitcase because again I'm flying, and right now I haven't shipped inventory at this point. But now even for local cons, I do like to have a mix of both, where most of my stuff is in a suitcase and then I do have like 2 storage bins, and ideally I would only stick to suitcases just because usually there is an issue of using the elevator, and sometimes, for example, for LA Comic Con, I think there's only like 2 elevators for vendors to use to go from the vendor floor to parking, and imagine sharing 2 elevators with hundreds of vendors. So obviously you can see the issue there. So that's also why I've started to incorporate suitcases with my inventory system, just because with suitcases I can use the escalators and I don't really have to line up just to use elevators. Some people like to use dollies and then combine that with bungee cords just to create a secure transportation system with their products. So at that point, just see what works best for you, and you can even use a combination of all 3 or more.
Here's Jackie. Hi.
Oh yes. That's why you have to go to Asian American Expo. It's now 5:53, so a little over an hour until this event ends, since it ends at 7. For the past few hours, it has been relatively slow. I will say thank you so much for everyone who stopped by my table. I really do appreciate when you stop by and say hi. And I feel like I say this with every vlog, but it really does brighten my day just knowing that people do actually watch my vlogs. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed Anime Impulse. If you want to see how I survived a 4-day Ribbon Con, watch this video to see my experience with vending at Anime Los Angeles' Artist Alley. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.